The gaming scene is filled with so many wonderful people, hands down. There are countless amounts of developers who create games out of passion and out of a love for what they do, and in turn, such creative and fun games get released so frequently nowadays. Games that would inspire more people to get into the gaming scene themselves, and to create games that they would love to make. But in every industry whatsoever, there are bad apples who bring everything down with them, and the gaming scene is no different. We've seen it over at Activision Blizzard, and we've definitely seen it over at EA for a couple of years. There's also been controversial solo developers who have lied, scammed, or did some other morally bad shit. But have you ever heard of the tale about the greediest horror game developer? Throughout 2023 and even in 2024, there has been one person that has been under the spotlight for creating unfinished yet overpriced games, having controversial things happen in both said games and in real life, and then when he finds the perfect opportunity, he decides to either hide away to start fresh, or flat out sue the ones who call him out. This is the story of Artur
Lachkovsky.
And after you hear about what he's done dating all the way back in 2018, it'll be safe to assume that he is, without a doubt, a pretty bad developer. Alright, so I'm gonna be honest here, because Artur likes to hide all of the shady things that he's done before, it is a little hard to get anything he's done prior to like mid to late 2018. So sadly enough, I can't pull out my inner video essay YouTuber and start at an unnecessary point to discuss every minute detail about the guy. Oh wait. Yes, I can. The year is 1807, and the newly appointed Emperor of the world, Napoleon Bonaparte, gets viciously attacked by hundreds of domesticated rabbits. Wait, no, that's a little too far back. In August 2014, the gaming world was shocked to its core as one of the most influential and controversial games hit the PlayStation Store for all to play, that being PT. You all probably know about this game, as everything about it is so iconic as all hell. Konami partnered up with Hideo Kojima and his development team Kojima Productions to create the next Silent Hill game. They released the playable teaser as a short 40-minute demo to showcase the player walking around in an infinitely looped yet infinitely horrifying house. And when the game was pulling massive numbers on just the PlayStation Store alone, Konami and Kojima broke off in the ugliest manner ever, and PT would be removed from the store faster than Pokemon fans making baseless AI accusations against games they do not like. So if we all know about PT, then why am I talking about it? After all, this is just a demo that hasn't and will never see the light of day since 2015. And last I checked, this video is entitled, The Climb and, the Fall of PT. I'm not fucking good with titles, okay? Well, in November of 2018, Artur released what he would like to call a one-to-one emulation of the game for everyone to play for free on itch.io. Now, around this time, it was common for fans to release an emulation for PT, that way the demo won't be lost to time. So for somebody like Artur to do this, it isn't necessarily an uncommon or morally bad thing to do in my opinion. The problem, however, is how Artur would go on to push this game out. Over the next year, Artur released different versions of the game, like version 1.1, 1.2, 0.3, and so on. But looking at what people had to say about these different versions, they all felt amateurish, as they all contained pretty bad bugs. Nowadays though, if you were to look at the itch.io page showcasing the 1.3 version, you'll notice that it's no longer playable. This might be because Konami noticed the recreation of the game and sent a cease and desist letter to Artur because Konami fucking sucks when it comes to fan-made games, but I don't think that's the case this time. Why do you ask? That's another good question, viewer. On the itch page, there's a very apparent link to play the current 1.4 version of the recreated PT on his goddamn Patreon. That's right, if you, the viewer, wanted to go ahead and play the free-to-play demo that, even though was taken down, still has multiple other recreations to play for free, including his last versions, you now have to pay at least $15 and you're left nutsock to play. It's funny too, because even though this version is priced, it's still nowhere near as good as the official PT, as there's still so many bugs present in this version. Lighting issues, no ability to move forward, and even cutscenes that are directly ripped from the official version are just a few issues players have encountered when playing this game. Like, this is just wrong. Not only is it incredibly illegal to put out a demo that you don't even own on your own Patreon, but you're basically literally shoving a giant middle finger in front of every PT fan's face because you're just that greedy for $15. Now I know I kinda yapped for a hot minute just to explain how this guy took something free, made it shit with his amateur developing skills, and then put a price tag on it, but this is just the start of his infamous legacy of creating half-baked games, getting flack for it, and then moving on to the next game while hoping everyone forgets about the previous thing that he's done. And what better example do I have to show you guys than the other project that good old Artur was working around the same time. Cold World is a survival horror game that takes inspiration from Silent Hill and Resident Evil 2, and a demo was released for the game on August of 2018. This game is about you, a rookie cop named Scott, responding to a call about some vandalism that happened inside of a warehouse full of Unreal Engine store assets. Going there, you'll notice how it's not actually just some random vandalism, but instead it's haunted by a demon. Ooh, how scary. Is that delirious? From what I can tell about the gameplay that I've seen on YouTube, this demo is just 15 minutes of the player walking around doing absolutely fuck all, and maybe finding 1 or 2 jump scares. Apart from that, there is no actual gameplay to this, unless you like walking. If you are a fan of just walking around with your thumb up your ass, this game might be up your alley. This demo was actually so piss poor that if you were to go over to Artur's itch.io page on the game, you'll quickly find out that it's been removed. Why is that the case? That is another good question, but honestly, the reason for this is incredibly disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. In this building, you'll come across a radio that tunes into a call from a woman to a 911 police dispatch. The call very disturbingly goes into detail about how a man is breaking into this woman's home and how she's trying to hide in a room with her baby. But once he does eventually get to her in the room, he commits very ungodly actions and ends up taking her life, all while she's still on the phone. Now, if this was a fabricated call and voiced by some actors to create a better story for the game, I wouldn't mind this feature one bit, but it's not a fabricated call. A real woman called 911 because a man was breaking in and about to violate her, and when she did not make it, Artur thought it was a good idea to include the entire call on his game for shock value. And if you thought that wasn't insensitive enough, you'll come across the body in the game of a naked woman tied up, bagged, and executed. I don't really have any words for this. This is truly one of the most despicable things anyone could do for a profit. This unfortunately isn't over though, as Artur was not the only person who was working on this game. There was someone else who was the lead voice actor and the writer for Cold World. This is Shadow's Fate, otherwise known as Brian Watts. You can actually find Brian's comments on many YouTube videos about Cold World. In some cases, he even talks about the disturbing 911 call and how he doesn't agree with it being included, while also trying to find actors to create something that is totally not despicable. But due to the recent uproar against Artur, which I'll talk about later on this video, Brian spoke out more on Twitter about his relationship with Artur in the game itself, with him unsurprisingly saying nothing but bad things about his time creating Cold World. I was not paid for Cold World. I was the writer and lead actor for it. 98% of my work as a writer was thrown out, including the 911 call, which I brought in real actors for. He threw that out and used a real 911 phone call from a woman assaulted. He demanded I include the Patreon audio recording, and after the demo failed to make him money, he broke ties with me. Artur had every chance to make right of his wrong, all because his actor was willing to help just because he wanted to see the project succeed. But this guy is so greedy, so hungry for money, that he just pissed off without even paying Brian, all because he knew the game wouldn't bring in money. Not even Mr. Krabs is this greedy, holy shit. And unfortunately, this isn't even close to everything that he's done. After the demo became a smashing failure for Artur, he would, like Brian said, just completely abandon the project to go on and try to create another cash cow. And his next attempt would actually be with the Bloober team, the very same team that is currently making the remake for the highly anticipated Silent Hill 2. Sometime around 2019, Artur would join Bloober and become one of their game designers. I don't have an exact date for when he was working with the company, but I do know that Artur joined the company so that he could work on his next game, which was Death Rose of Dying? Death of Rose, yes, it was that. I totally knew the game's name, and I totally did not have to look it up while recording this video. You probably never heard of this game before, and that's because the game was never fully released, just like Cold World. In fact, the entire development process is just strange, to say the least. On February 1st, Artur would release an announcement trailer for Death of Rose, which would be set to release only 19 days afterwards. However, exactly on the original release date, the game would be unexpectedly delayed and then outright cancelled, with Artur also leaving Bloober because of a big situation according to Games Radar. Later that year in August, Artur would pick the game back up independently and would create a 3-minute gameplay review on Gamescom 2020. He tried to advertise the game as an inspiration to Silent Hill once again, an inspiration of super massive games as a whole, and also an inspiration for Stranger Things, which made absolutely no sense to me. However, the gameplay itself really sucked though, as it included nothing but walking around, this time in an abandoned schoolhouse, and getting pathetically jump scared maybe 1 or 2 times.
Oh, shiver my timbers!
And if that wasn't sad enough, for some reason throughout this trailer, some random person is narrating during the entire watch time and is trying very hard to sell you Death of Rose.
We are very proud of the dialogue in Death of Rose because it simulates spontaneous conversation, often emphasizing the situation Scott and Beth find themselves in.
Scott, I'm starting to notice you enjoy it more than you should. That sounds scary, not exciting. Can you please come back? Please.
An extensive dialogue tree makes it possible to create a unique story for Scott and Beth each and every time.
It would be much faster. Let's give it a try. Just imagine.
Like, this guy spends a hot second talking about how the dialogue feels more natural than in any other game that you played, but the entire time that he explains it, the dialogue simultaneously plays in the background, so everything sounds more jumbled than that one paranormal video on YouTube.
Did you see it? On the left side of the doorframe, barely visible on camera, a white translucent mist-like cloak slowly creeps into frame.
Even though this game would have instantly been the greatest game to have ever released in the history of mankind, the Death of Rose project would soon fail, not even a month after he picked up the project again. I have absolutely no clue why he would restart the development if he was just gonna scrap it just as fast, but whatever. At least with this cancellation, we would get the big situation that caused Artur to leave the Bloober team through an article by Xfire, and this big situation is laughable.
Artur Laczkowski
was a member of the Polish video game studio Bloober team, which is founded by Peter
Babieno
and Peter
Bilatowicz
in 2008. He left the team in March 2022 for personal reasons, including his father's health status, his desire to aid his friends in Ukraine, and his need to improve his career after hitting a creative wall. Okay, those are various reasons. His father's health was declining, he wanted to improve his career after hitting a creative wall, and he wanted to help aid his friends in Ukraine? This sounds like a child trying to explain a story to someone, but they make absolutely no sense. You wanted to improve your career after having a sense of writer's block, so in turn, you decide to leave a well-respected gaming company that would have improved your career, and you also wanted to aid your friends during a time of war, while also staying near your home so you can take care of your dying father? Very suspicious if you ask me, but I mean, I guess we have no reason to not believe him. Hint, hint. Foreshadowing alert. Okay, yeah, no, in the same tweet, Brian Watts also talks about how the Bloober team released Artur instead of him leaving on his own accord. Artur's next game after the colossal failure of Death of Rose would be the infamous Stray Souls. Unlike his previous project, Stray Souls was going to be developed by Artur's newly created indie team called Jukai Studio, which starred only him and composer Pete Witcher. On top of that, a new publishing team was in the mix, that being Versus Evil. And after 2 years, or actually just a few months as claimed by Brian, it was released, and the game was bad. Just like in every single game that Artur has made or was making previously, the entire gameplay boils down to walking around set locations and encountering some embarrassing jump scares. Where did Barth go? There is some combat, which is mind-boggling to hear coming from an Artur game. You'll be facing weird, fleshy creatures outside in foggy areas. Huh. I wonder where he got that idea from. But the combat is very stiff, very buggy, and overall just not enjoyable. Oh hey, AI are too. Wow, at this point, I can't even get mad at the guy. I've already established how lazy and money-hungry Artur is, so I would have been more surprised if he hadn't used AI to cut corners. I mean, hey though, at least the other form of art, these soundtracks, were very nice to listen to and were actually made by real human beings. So good job, Pete Witcher and Akira Yamaoka, who's made the soundtrack for Silent Hill. God damn it. But yeah, the game looks like shit, it plays like shit, and the story is shit. I actually made a video on it a couple months back because I believed the lies that Artur had for this game, so go check that out. After that game was released, many people were rightfully upset over paying $30 for a half-baked piece of garbage. The game would be review bombed to absolute shit, and tragically, on December 22nd, Versus Evil was randomly shut down by its parent company, Tiny Build. Whatever you think about Stray Souls really doesn't matter, as the crew within Versus Evil weren't the ones creating this horrible game. They were just there to publish a game belonging to a really bad person who they could have never known how bad he really was. But yet, over a dozen talented and hardworking people working for a company that's been around publishing games for over a decade just shuts down like that. And for this to happen at the very end of the year, just 3 days before Christmas no less, it is heartbreaking to hear about, and I hope that everybody affected by that closure is able to find a new place to work at. However though, this would be the start of everything unfolding for dear old Artur. On the same day that Versus Evil announced its closure, Jukai Studio also released a statement announcing their closure. And their main reason for their own closure was, and get this, because of the large amount of cyberbullying from numerous amounts of people that hindered the sales of Stray Souls. Players were actually so upset about Jukai Studio fucking off after releasing a shitty game that they finally did some digging on Artur's Twitter page, and what they found on his liked page was shocking. Multiple tweets about praising white people for beating up black people, transphobic tweets about the Olympics, and for some reason even tweets belonging to your standard annoying OnlyFans chick were all liked by Artur. The things that he liked were so disturbing that he even liked a tweet showcasing a black kid no older than 7 years old falling off a roof. What is with Artur's fascination of including very disturbing deaths? Anyways, when he discovered that the deserved anger was growing against him, this guy did every possible thing that you could think of in this type of situation. He sent out an apology on the Jukai Studio Twitter page, which is good, but just like the games that he's made before, this apology was half-baked and lazy, which was bad. In the second paragraph alone, he addresses how he's been receiving death threats rather than addressing the elephant in the room so that he can earn some sympathy points from the most gullible people on Earth. He then attempted to say that this occurred some time ago and doesn't represent that of Jukai Studio, but that's not true when you find out the controversial tweets just happened 5 months prior in May of 2023. Around the same time that he sent out this apology, I want to even say before the apology, Artur was also going on different interviews to claim that he never liked any racist or transphobic tweets and that this was just a smear campaign against his reputation.
I've never liked any kind of transphobic or racist tweets, simply because I am not that kind of person. I have nothing but respect for all kind of people. I work with people that are identifying as a LGBTQ plus and are different skin color than mine.
He even went on to message random Twitter users to claim his innocence and say that cyberbullies were trying to ruin him, as if that would do anything but tarnish his reputation. Of course, with the apology, he blatantly confessed to his wrongdoing, so at least he's sort of manning up to his actions, and oh, the post is now deleted. Well, at least he's still around for people to be informed about Jukai Studio and to stay away from his future games, so there's no— oh, he deleted the apology to try and hide what he's done. And oh, there goes his personal Twitter account in an attempt to bury the bad things that he himself did. At least he won't come back, I guess, and if he does, people will catch on before buying his next game. Oh, god damn it. Supernormal is a survival horror game that consists of a detective trying to find a missing girl who's abducted from her home by a demon. This game, once again, has the player walking around a set location waiting for yet another embarrassing jump scare to happen. I think this is probably the worst game that I have played or seen from the list of already shit games in this video. This one somehow looks even worse than his other games, even though this is just another fucking asset flip on the Unreal Engine. The gameplay is even more monotonous than the other walking simulators, and you know what? Just take a look at the main menu page for Supernormal. This ugly conglomerate basically summarizes the entire game for you. Now, Supernormal was developed by Hitori Day Productions, a company that has very surprisingly never made any game before this and has never even existed before the creation of this game, but has been working on Supernormal for over 2 years, as stated on the Twitter page. Wow, how convenient. But oh wait, the model used for the demon that you encounter is the exact one-to-one copy of the model from the cancelled indie game Allison Road by Christian Kessler, all while the house that Supernormal was set in is actually an Unreal Engine asset that anyone can buy? What? Who could have seen that coming? Interestingly enough, a YouTuber named Bob Vids, who has previously covered the recent actions of Artur, was in talks with Christian, where it was revealed that the owner of Hattori Day Productions reached out to the developer. Christian says that the owner asked to get him permission to use a similar likeness to Allison Road, unknown to the fact that the likeness was actually just using a ripped model. And not surprisingly, the owner who reached out to Christian was, in fact, Artur
Lachkovsky.
After Bob Vids received this information, he tried to reach out to the Supernormal Twitter account where, of course, Artur tried to deny that he was actually Artur in hopes of burying his past. He even backed out of being on an interview with Bob Vids, which would have completely cleared the air on whether this unknown game developer was actually Artur. But when trying to weasel out of the interview did not work for Artur, and Bob Vids continued to press on, he somehow became even slimier than before and outright threatened to take this to legal matters against Bob Vids for cyberbullying and defamation on the Jukai Studio Twitter account before promptly shutting down that account altogether. You can't even make this shit up anymore. I couldn't even come up with this if I tried. And somehow, it gets even worse, as Bob Vids uploaded the video about how he was being threatened with a lawsuit after uncovering this information. Artur thought it was a good idea to release one of the cockiest, most soy boy-ass comments that I've ever seen in my life.
Hi, bully. I mean, Bob. That's so nice of you. I see you're a huge fan, bro. I really appreciate your support. If you ever need some first-hand info for your next documentary about me, make sure to holla at ya boy. I got ya. I'm around...
I'm sorry. Can't fucking do this, man.
I'm around 6 feet, 185 pounds. I like sports and video games. No need for all this detective shit that you're doing, which, by the way, is so... You have to be some kind of investigator, eh? No cap. Don't be shy about it, Bob. This supernatural detective game got you inspired, huh? Sorry to break it to you, but I'm working on a different solo project at the moment. I spoke with Chris, and you can shoot me a DM, and I can hook you up with some exclusive, never-seen-before footage. Once again, thanks. A little clout never killed nobody, right? I think we can actually become friends, you know? Shit, let's play some Lethal Company together and plan some details for your next vid about my upcoming project, bro.
You know, I would expect this from a 13-year-old girl who got called ugly once on her TikTok page, but not from a grown-ass man who's been in the gaming industry for years. Surely, though, surely it could not get any worse from this, though, right? I mean, what other action could Artur possibly do that would ultimately cement him as the worst developer in all of gaming history? There's nothing, right? Right? This is Indie Game Joe, a marketer who mainly helps promote indie games for a set price, or just out of the kindness of his heart, he'll push out a game's name just to help a startup indie developer get some extra publicity. He stated that Joe reached out to him as he himself was taken advantage of for the release of Supernormal. Joe discusses how a man by the name of Arthur, you know, there's an H on there so it makes him anonymous, I guess, reached out to him to get help pushing out his first ever game that he worked so hard on for so many years, which of course was Supernormal. Joe did not know that this was Artur, he didn't know about any of Artur's past controversies, and so he decided to help the company market the game, all of which was free of cost. So when he found out of the true nature of this evil developer and how he was getting exploited just to have more eyes set onto the game, Joe was hurt, just like how Brian Watts was hurt for being exploited, just like how everyone at Versus Evil was hurt for being exploited and let go, and essentially just like how everyone who fell for Artur's lies was was hurt for being exploited. Artur, I hope you're watching this video, but I just want to say, dog, you are a loser. That's all. You're just a loser. You can't make an original thing to save your own life, and even then, the shit that you make is worse than a college student who just made their first ever game. You try to be edgy and cool with the shit like the 911 call or the liked tweets, but you are an absolute crybaby when it blows up in your face. The fact that you've exploited so many people for so many years just so that you can take an easy dollar is shameless. You have fucked over so many people, and I would not doubt that you would do this all over again if given the chance. Like I said, man, you are a loser. But with that said, I'm ending this video here. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I want to give a quick shout out to BobVids, as a lot of the information regarding the Twitter controversy and everything past that was found by him. So because of that, I'll leave a link to his video and to his Twitter page in the description below. I'll also leave a link to all the articles that I looked up to research for this video, as well as the Twitter accounts for Pete and Brian. They both seem like good people who are just brought into a shitty circumstance, so go show them some love as well. And I also know that this video is a stark contrast to my previous videos where I just looked at horror games, but this is just a topic that I'm passionate and interested about, mainly because I already spent almost $40 playing two of Artur's shittiest games. Also, since he shows no signs of owning up to his mistakes or learning from his actions, I hope this video can serve as a warning to be more wary about purchasing games from unknown developers, or even being trigger happy on buying games that only look good in the trailers but serve no good playable value. I feel like a lot of his game sales happened because he was using Unreal Engine 5, and because that game engine looks very nice even with using assets, people just kind of fell for this and thought this was a really good looking and really high quality game. Anyways, once again, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys like this video, hit that like button and subscribe, and with that, I will see you all in another video. Bye for now.